Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Look at me with my shoulders out, acting like it's summer out there. It's really not, it's actually still quite chilly, but I am just so ready for the weather to be really warm right now. Where is the heat that we had this time last year? That's what I need to know. Anyway, for today's video, I am going to be starting off a new series on my channel. I'm saying that like I've ever done a series on my channel. I don't think I ever have. I think I've mentioned this on my channel, but if you also follow me on Instagram, you have definitely seen this. Since going back to work, I have been trying to use up a bit more of my makeup, focus on some things that maybe I haven't been using as much, things that I want to finish up a little, and I thought that a great way of doing that would be to use a different eyeshadow palette each week. So far that hasn't exactly gone to plan because I think I used the Good Luck Charms palette from Revolution for 2 weeks, but this week I actually used something else, and I actually find it super inspiring to go back to these palettes that maybe I haven't used in a while, and I thought, why not share these palettes with you on my channel? Why not share these looks? And that is exactly what we are here for today. So to kick off this series, I'm gonna be using a palette that I used to love from a brand that I used to use all the time. I think if you go back to the start of my channel and the start of my Instagram, I use this brand in most of my looks, but unfortunately, this brand has fallen off my radar a little bit, and I think a lot of people feel the same way because in 2019, they gave us way too many releases. I think we all got severe fatigue from it, and I think you all know who I'm talking about. I'm going to be using the Subculture palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I know I'm starting off strong with a palette that not a lot of people like, but I did actually have quite a bit of fun digging back into this one this week, so that's why I thought we would start off with this one. So after what feels like a very long intro, although hopefully it's not too bad once I edit it down, let's actually jump into it. I'm going to go and prime my eyes really quickly, zoom you guys in, and then we'll jump into the palette. Alright, so I've just gone ahead and primed my eyes as always with my P2E's base, but I'm not sure if that is a mistake, just because I do feel like I stopped enjoying the Anastasia eyeshadows around the time where I started using the P2E's base, so we're gonna see how it goes today. I don't actually use the P2E's base during the week for work. I'll show you what I use at the moment. I've been using the Maybelline Color Tattoo. This is a proper throwback. This was a dupe for the MAC Paint Pot in Painterly, which I also used a very long time ago, but then I went for this one, and you know what? This is actually working pretty well, but I am gonna see how it does with the P2E's base today. If it doesn't work, I can always refilm this tomorrow. So I am going to start off with the shade Destiny, which really matches my dress, although you can't see it, and I'm gonna take a Morphe M456, and I mean, yes, these shades are powdery. I think we all know that at this point, but just pick up a little bit. You don't have to dip your brush in loads. Dip it in a little, get rid of your fallout, and then go in with it. I'm also not going to pack the shadow on because I think that is where things do kind of go wrong with this palette, or at least for me anyway. I've definitely done quite a few looks with this palette, and I did have a couple of videos. I think I'll link my playlist for you guys. I've just turned off the autofocus because I feel like every time I looked up it was not focused, which is not the point. And I've also just picked up a bit more product. The technique that everyone uses with the P2E's base is to pack on your darkest color and then blend out with your lighter shades. And I feel like I always get something really patchy with this palette when I do that. So that's why I thought I would do it this way instead. I mean, it does look patchy, but I'm just gonna take my time. I've added some more. Yeah, I don't know if this is the best base to use with it. I've probably just made a huge mistake. I probably won't like how this looks, but it does look like it's really struggling to blend at the top. I've just been having a bit of fun with it this week. It has been nice to use a palette that I hadn't picked up in months, if not a couple of years, I'd say. I think I'm just gonna add a bit more here. There we go. Things have definitely just started going much better on the other eye immediately. So I'm just trying to get them to match. I don't really want to restart my makeup when I've already got the skin on. Okay, to soften that up and try and neaten the top, I'm going to go into the shade Dawn. And this time I'm taking a Morphe M433, so it's basically just the same brush, but it's just a bit bigger. Let's try and blend that out. I'm just trying to follow the shape of my brow at the back. I mean, I feel like from afar, the blend is looking all right. From up close, that might be a different story. Okay, then I think I'm just gonna take a bit more of Destiny and just try to even that out. And then back in with the M433 just to blend, but I haven't added any extra product. Okay, we're definitely going for something pretty grungy today. So next, we're gonna go into the shade Untamed over here. I'm just gonna use the same Morphe M456. You know what, in terms of fallout on my cheeks, it's actually not too bad. But again, do just make sure that you're tapping off that excess. Now, I definitely remember someone pointing out that a lot of people were over blending. I can't remember who that someone was now, maybe Stephanie Nicole. And I can see why that happens, because the colors are so pigmented. If you put too much on the first go, you do have to blend out so much, which is exactly what you saw me do, which is why the P. Louise base is probably not the best base to use with it. I mean, why am I using it? I'm not too sure. I'm not someone who ever sets my eyeshadow base because I don't really see the point, but this is probably one of the few palettes where I would say, yeah, do it actually, because it's so pigmented anyway. If your base is already set, you're gonna have less issues with the color sticking and then having to overblend to move it. I'm gonna take the M433, just run that through. It's not the neatest, but it is really grungy and I actually do really like it. Next, I'm gonna take the shade Axis over here and I'm just taking the same M456, mostly because I cleaned my brushes really late this morning and they're not actually dry, but also because it's working quite well in this instance, if I could only talk. I do remember that another thing that was said about this palette, and again, I can't remember who this was, this might have been Marion Camillon thinking about it. What a lot of people were doing was trying to blend colours that might be next to each other in the palette, but on the colour wheel, they are in completely different places, and therefore they're just not gonna blend in together. So I think probably what a lot of people were doing was going in with All Star, which is more of a red, and then trying to blend it in with Untamed or Destiny, which is more of a green. They are literally opposites on the color wheel, so they do look really good together, but they don't blend in together. And a lot of people were ending up with really murky blends, and that was one of the reasons that it was happening. Now in this case, the shades that I've picked do blend in well together. They are kind of all in the same color family. I've gone for blues and greens, so I'm not having issues in that sense. But I do feel like something that happens to me with this palette, and I don't know if maybe it's because my palette is a little bit old at this point. I mean, this came out in 2018, I want to say, 2017, I'm not sure, but it's been out for a while. And the shelf life after opening is 12 months, so I don't know if maybe the shades have expired. I just always feel like things end up looking really grey, and I feel like I can never really see that the shades look that different. Like, can you really tell that I started off with a khaki? Not really. I think I'm just gonna take a Morphe M441 now, which is just a clean brush, and I'm just gonna come over that edge and blend again. And having a clean brush is just gonna mean that I'm not gonna add any more pigments. I mean, like, it's not my best blend, it's not my favorite, but again, I really like how grungy it looks. It's just a fair bit of work. I think I'm just gonna add a bit more of Axis, really intensify the outer corner. I mean, when you pack it on, that is such a beautiful shade. It's a stunning murky blue, but then if I was to start with that color in my crease as my darker shade and pack it on and blend it out with my lighter shades, it would go patchy every time. Do I have a clean M456? I don't, but I do have an M514. I think I am just gonna go back into a little bit of Destiny just to blend out again. Alright, so I would say that it feels like this has taken a long time to blend just because I've had to keep going back into the colours, keep building up, keep blending. But I'm actually looking at the timer and I haven't been filming for that long. This has just felt like it was a little bit lengthy. I think because I was making sure not to screw it up, basically. Just desperately trying to make sure it didn't go patchy. I mean, I feel like it looks okay now. It's actually not too bad, but again, it's not perfect. But I do like the way that the colors are looking right now. So let's actually move on into one of the shimmers now. Now, when it comes to the shimmers in this palette, I would say that they are definitely my least favorite thing from the palette. So it's a good thing that they decided to only include 3. I have got 4 palettes from Anastasia, and I would say that the shimmer formula across all of those is pretty weak. I like the idea behind them. We have Cube, which looks white but has a pink duochrome, and then Electric, which is a green but again has a duochrome. But I mean, you guys can see pretty clearly that we have hard pan in there, and they are a nightmare to use. I've never enjoyed them. So I'm going to take my P. Louise brush. It's just from the cancelled collection. It came with one of the paints. I keep seeing Kerry K use these for her shimmers on her channel, and you know what? This actually works really well, so that's what I'm going to use. And I'm going to go into Electric. I really just have to dig in and yeah. It's a weird consistency. Right, so the other day I didn't use any glitter glue or anything. And let's see how it goes today. It's working. I've had to dig in, but we're getting there. So the thing with this palette is that all the shades in here are pressed pigments, which I feel like we're used to that nowadays. We've had so many pressed pigment palette, but at the time, it wasn't really something that was done as much, which is one of the reasons why so many people struggled with it. It's just not a formula that we were used to. Now, you guys know I love a pressed pigment palette, but I do sometimes struggle with a pressed pigment shimmer. I don't necessarily think it's the best formula. I mean, it has gone on the eye beautifully. This is probably actually the best experience I've ever had with it, but I did have to dig in a lot. And also, I've not used it as a cut crease. I wonder if that's where I've gone wrong before with this palette, because using it for a cut crease, I was probably ending up with a lot of texture because you do have to dig in because it is so chunky. Whereas here, it's worked really well. I think that what Anastasia should have done with this, and let me know in the comments if you agree with this or not, they would have been better off making this a fully matte palette, having 3 more really interesting matte shades, because the color scheme, that's what got everyone. It was so different, it was so interesting. But then have those 3 shimmers, make them loose pigments. I think we would have all just had a much better time with it. I really think we would. So now I'm gonna go back into my Morphe M456. I'm just gonna blend around and look at what's left on my brush blending in with that green. That is so pretty. I feel like this is the first time I'm really getting to enjoy this shade, you know? I never really liked it that much before, but today I'm just like, okay, yeah. You know what? This was good. This was good. I think I'm gonna go back over with a little bit more of the green. Maybe all I needed was a little bit of time and a little bit of practice. Maybe that's all it was, because this palette is definitely not beginner friendly. Definitely not. Wow. I never used to use this shade. I never used to like it, but look how this has come out. I'm really, really pleased with that. That is really, really beautiful. And the mix that it does with the darkest blue with Axis, stunning. Absolutely gorgeous. Maybe it's the brush. Maybe it's this P. Louise cancelled brush, because it's just applied that really well. Okay, so let's move on to that lower lash line now, and I'm gonna go back into Axis, and I do have set concealer here, so it might not go on quite as pigmented, although yeah, I guess it does. I think in all my recent videos, you guys would have seen me, when I'm laying down my first crease colour, go underneath and then just finishing off there at the front. But when I've been doing my makeup for work, I have just been focusing on the crease first and then doing my lower lash line. And I am finding I'm getting a really nice lift from it. Like, that's just a really nice angle, a really, really nice lift. So maybe I'm going to start moving back to that technique. I'm not entirely sure yet. And then I'm going to take another flat brush, and this time I'm going back into Untamed. It doesn't seem to have any issues going over an area that isn't fresh that is a set base. So yeah, maybe again the trick to using this palette is the powdered base. Okay, I'm gonna go into Destiny now, back on that M514. I've taken really just a little bit, and I'm gonna go in really softly and really pull it outwards. I feel like what I struggle with is connecting the lower lash line to what I've got on top and not making it look like a really harsh line. Seems to be going okay so far. And then I'm going to take my Morphe M433, although I haven't added any new product, but I do have some skipping out here. I'm just going to blend. And then I'm also going to go back into electric. So I'm really just taking the tip of my P. Louise brush here and building it up at the front. I do kind of want to do liner, but I don't want to do an actual liner. I feel like it'd be too harsh. I want to keep it a lot more smoky. Why don't I try Mercury over here? Oh, I didn't say what brush I was using. It's a Morphe M508. I don't know why I said that was Mercury, because that's definitely rowdy. And I'm going to smoke it along the lash line. I feel like whenever I use this colour, it just basically looks black. In the palette, it's really dark, but it's clearly a purple. And then on my eyes, it just always looks like a black shade. But I feel like that was a big criticism that people had, that the shades just didn't look the way you would expect them to. I've taken that up a little bit higher than what I would have wanted, but actually, I really like it. I think that works better. Right, I'm gonna highlight my inner corner now, but I'm not gonna use anything from the palette. This is the Revolution Vivid Baked Highlighter in the shade Golden Lights. This is very old at this point. I've had it for a few years, so I feel like I'm giving myself some throwbacks. But they have actually re-released this shade recently in the Highlighter Reloaded range, and those are pretty blinding. I do like that formula, so if you did want to get this shade, it's not often that I use a gold highlighter, but it really works for this. Do I also use it for my brow highlight, or do I want to go... I think I want to go more white on the brow highlight actually, so I'm going to switch into one of the Highlighter Reloaded, which is going to be Set the Tone, and I'm going to be quite careful with this. I'm going to pop it right up here. And then I'm going to take that big Morphe brush that I used earlier and just blend that out. And then for my waterline, I'm going to do something that's going to have a little bit of contrast, really, really stand out. So I'm going to go for the shade Electric from LA Girl. Alright, so for the eyes, that just leaves me with lashes and brows, and I will be doing them off camera. I'm going to do my blush and my highlighter first. Where I have got such a cool toned eye look, I want to go a bit warmer on the rest of the face. So I will be taking my Wet n Wild Colour Icon blush in Nudist Society. This is definitely a favourite. I'm going to take it on my Morphe JH06 just because it is actually dry. And I'm going to pop that on. Oh, I love this so much. It's just such a stunning warm brown shade. Absolutely perfect for summer. And then what I normally try and do is tie the highlighter back into the eyes. So I am going to use the shade Golden Lights again. I've had this for so long and I really have barely made a dent in it. It's not the type of shade that I wear all the time. I mean, this is a very over the top highlighter for me, clearly. And then the lip and the nose. Right, I'm just gonna go and do those lashes and brows off camera, and then I'll come back and we'll finish off the lips. All right guys, my brows and lashes are now done, and look at that. I'm not wearing my Ivy lashes from By Libby Beauty. I know, shocking, because they're all I've worn for the past God knows how many videos. These are still by Libby Beauty, but they are the Alex lashes, and they're just not as long, not as wispy, so I just feel like they're adding a really good amount of volume, and it looks really, really nice with this look. Very happy with it. So let's move on to my lips, and I'm gonna take the infamous TLC by MUA, which is a very, very popular lip liner, and I'm gonna line my lips. And then for my lipstick, I'm going to use the shade Undiscovered from the new Barry M Satin lipsticks, I think they were called. I don't know, I should know. I did a lip swatch video last week. I will link that for you guys if you are interested. I think the shade is maybe a little bit more pink than I would have wanted, but I think the lip liner was a good idea. And then I'm just gonna finish the look off with a spritz of the vanilla and coconut makeup fixing spray from I Heart Revolution. Alright guys, here is the finished look. What do we think? Let me know in the comments. I really like how this has come out, particularly the green on the lid. I feel like it's a shade that I could just never get to work for me, and it's just come out so lovely. I don't know if it's the brush, I don't know if it's the fact that I haven't used it as a cut crease, but it's such a lovely green, and I feel like in the whole time that I have owned this palette, I have not actually enjoyed it as much as I have today. I really hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. It definitely came out a lot more chatty than I expected. I feel like it's gonna be a lot longer to edit than I thought it would be, but I think that is what will be nice with the fact that I am digging into some older palettes that maybe you guys haven't seen on my channel in a while. I'm gonna be able to give you my current thoughts on them. If it's something that I used to love, do I still love it, or have I changed my mind? And I kind of feel like that's the way that I feel about this palette right now, because I just hadn't touched it in so long because I found it really difficult to use. And again, as I said, it wasn't the easiest. It did take a lot of going back and forth, but I think the result is worth it. I do really like it. Again, not my nicest blend, but I really like the final result. I know that this particular palette is discontinued, which may happen a few times, seeing as I am going to be going for possibly some older palettes. However, if you do like the color scheme and you do want to grab something similar, there are a lot of dupes out there. There's definitely one from Revolution in their 15 pan palettes, so it comes with an extra shade. I think it is 15, and I think they're only about £5, so very affordable. W7 also do one, and I've definitely seen it in places like B&M so many times, so you should definitely be able to grab that in there or on their website. I know that there's also at least one US based dupe brand that does it as well, and I know that a lot of people have come across the Subculture in TK Maxx. I don't know if that's still the case, but if you get lucky you might either find that one or the W7 one in there, so I would definitely keep a lookout for it if you are interested in this color scheme. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed the first installment of this series. I'm already excited for the next one, although I have not decided what palette I'm going to be using yet, but this really was a lot of fun, and I feel like I'm going to start reaching for this palette a whole lot more, and probably my other Anastasia ones. So if you enjoyed today's video, then do please make sure that you give it a big thumbs up, leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of it, and if you haven't already, then please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye guys!